I kept hearing about plateaus, reading about them, getting ready until I actually meet one in real life, and I didn't really get it until now. The last couple of weeks were it. It wasn't a crash or something really obvious, it was just a weird kind of stuck. The energy dropped, the feeling of progress kind of disappeared, and I was still showing up, I was still moving, still filming, still doing everything that I usually do, but it didn't feel like it was going anywhere. And that part kind of really messes with your head. This week has finally started to click a little bit better than usual, both with the food, the movement and everything. I mean, right now it's actually raining or whatever, and here I am moving. I was supposed to actually be in the gym today, but I made sort of a compromise because my energy levels are still not at 1,000%. So yeah, gonna have to do with just the bare minimum today. And I realize now that the more the season's changing and everything, I'll have to adapt a little bit more. That means two things. One, I need to be very careful on what I eat and pay more attention to the food side of things. And another one is that I need to find some indoor activities beyond just the gym, because that gets super boring, and as we see, it needs a lot of energy to actually do it. So I need something that is a little bit lower energy, but at the same time still keeps me engaged, still keeps me active, increases my flexibility or whatnot. Yeah, and I don't know. I had some suggestions from you guys, and I'll actually start to look into them. I've already started looking into swimming and whatnot, so that's going to be a terrifying new experience, but yeah, it'll do. So yeah, we'll see where we land with all this, but we keep going and we move forward. Because here's the truth, I kind of messed up with food, but not in the way you think. Like, not with junk food or snacking or just getting fast food and stuff, but actually by cutting corners. I was busy and tired, and I kind of stopped paying attention. The portions started getting bigger, quick sandwiches started to appear more and more, and saying things like, tomorrow I'll cook, or tomorrow I'll meal prep, or I'll put something together better tomorrow, sort of kind of became like a little bit of a habit, a mini habit, or a mini recurring episode at least. And I wasn't really in it. I wasn't really present there when I was eating. I had the fork in one hand, I was watching TV, or had the phone in another hand or something like that, and then the plate would just go poof, it would just disappear. Because I feel like when energy gets low, the habits that used to run in the background, they stop running by themselves. You have to start making good choices again on purpose, actively looking at them. You need to slow down when you're in front of your plate, measure it again, make sure that you have the right amount in the plate, put more colorful stuff on the plate. And I mean vegetables, not sauces. To drink water before the meal, make sure, all of it, every single aspect of it needs to be a little bit more intentional, instead of relying on the autopilot of driving it forward. And I know they seem like really simple things, and that, they usually run in the background, but they only work if you do them. And that was the real plateau, not necessarily the number on the scale, because the number on the scale also plateaued. One day it would be like 4 pounds going up, the next day it would be like 5 down, or something weird like that. There was just like this ping pong happening on the scale, from day to day. And I wasn't showing a trend, because usually when I see this, it's normal for the weight to fluctuate, and I'm used to this. But typically when I see this, like, I see at the end of the week a trajectory, be it going down or be it going up. Well, these past, say, 2 weeks, it was just there. It wouldn't go up or down, and it was just like very frustrating. It was really weird to just look at it and be like, oh my god, is this up again? Or how am I feeling today? Like, should I feel good because it went down, or do I feel bad because it went up yesterday and now I'm just back down? I wouldn't even know what to feel. And basically, yeah, that was kind of the idea here, that, it wasn't necessarily the number on the scale that was the actual plateau, although I guess that's what you would define it, but actually the attention that slipped, and the autopilot light turned off, and I didn't really notice that it was off. But then there was this like small turning point where I felt like something was going on. You know, I was out on a walk and decided to give running a try, even for a little bit. You know, I thought to myself, okay, I'll just push for 30 seconds and see what happens. And well, yeah, I actually managed to surprise myself. I know it doesn't really sound like much, but it did tell me that the engine still works. And you know, once I did that, and once I realized like, oh yeah, hey, look, the body still works, the engine is still going. If I can do that, I can, you know, tighten up the rest. So I started making a little bit of small tweaks here and there when it comes to like the whole process and the whole week. Started with just like something simple of like, instead of having a snack in the evening, I started making tea instead, like having these nice cups of tea, because you know, even those like healthy snacks, they can still be tricky. They can still take you over your daily intake target. And I also tried to be a little bit more mindful when it comes to the actual portion sizes. And believe it or not, I actually switched to maybe some smaller plates, or I thought to myself, look, I'll just put something smaller in, which I know it wouldn't be enough for me, but then I'll be like, hey, if I need seconds, I'll just go for seconds, but maybe I'll try not to. And trust me, when you lack the energy and you're after a long, busy day and everything, and you're not in the right mind space, that is not an easy thing to do. The walk started to get longer again. I came across this beautiful lake and really got carried away by the view, by the whole birds and foliage and everything. It was really nice to just walk and you know, take in the sights. And before I even knew, you know, I was already 6K steps in. And that's the point where I realized, well, hold on, I actually need to go get back to the car and get back home. So yeah, that's gonna be more than 6K for sure. And it ended up being almost 12 kilometers, walking 12 kilometers completely by accident. I mean, I say completely by accident because part of me, you know, knew that, yeah, I was kind of overdoing it in terms of how much I walked. But I don't know, I was tired as heck, but you know, it felt good. It felt really good. And it was like a clear signal that something started to click and something started to shift in like the way I was feeling. Because yeah, by the time I was done and I was back home, I was like looking pretty happy about it, you know? And this stretch really taught me how plateaus actually feel. Like they're really quiet and sneaky. They're really easy to overlook. They might lead you to think that it's actually something else than it's really happening. And they make everything feel a lot more heavier than it should. That should be like the first hint that this is a plateau and you shouldn't really take it as something else. When the energy is low, you kind of need to adapt to that level, right? Both in terms of your body and in terms of your expectations as well. Like you can't expect to do the same sort of amount of effort that you would do when you're full energy, when you got like you're pumped and you want to go. So you kind of have to lower your expectations a little bit more so that you don't get disappointed and frustrated and feel like you're not going anywhere. And if the day goes sideways, I try to keep at least one thing, like one good meal or one good walk, and that kind of makes it move forward. You know, it makes you feel like you're moving forward, even if it's at a snail's pace. Yeah, I won't pretend I wasn't frustrated, because I really was. And all the pressure of, you know, expecting progress and feeling like you're not seeing it for a day, a week, 2 weeks, it really starts to get to you. But, you know, then I started to look at where I actually started, and I even went back to look at some of my older videos, believe it or not, for motivation. I'm motivating myself that way. And I don't know, it really put things a little bit into perspective and seeing how far I've already gotten. And, you know, even though, yeah, there's going to be a lull, there's going to be a plateau, there's going to be days in which you don't feel like you're advancing fast enough, that's still fine. You know, those are going to happen. You just need to get past them one way or another. Because at the end of the day, you know, progress is still progress, be it 0.1% or be it 100%, you know, it still matters. And the community really helped too, you know, with all the comments and the messages that came in. Because and people actually reminding me why I started and where I was when I started. And like I was saying, I was actually looking at some of my older videos, and, you know, it's very hard to argue with your own proof. Like, it's all there. You can't deny it. You know, the steps, the meals, the days that you stacked. They're all there. You can't deny it. And that really puts things into perspective. If you're in a similar spot, this is what actually helped me. Admit that you cut corners. It's that simple. You gotta be honest. And first and foremost, you gotta be honest with yourself. And name the exact corners that you're cutting. Because Deep down, you know exactly what the problem is. You know exactly where the issue lies and what can be optimized or tweaked. And then you pick two basics and you protect the hell out of them every single day. Be it on the food side, with eating slower, putting more greens in, or just putting your shoes on and going for a 5-minute or 10-minute walk. Because it's the small things that actually move the week. It doesn't take something massive or something really explosive and important to actually make you feel like you're going forward. And before you know it, you'll be right back on track. I'll see you guys in the next one. Chonk out.